Mock off-season time will be realistic, will be chaotic. We will also talk Amherst. What a comeback their season lives to fight another day. All ahead here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Sneaky Joe DiBiase. Today's episode brought to you by Monopoly Go. Game off. We got to talk more about Monopoly Go. Fast-paced game. Let's you team up with friends for tournaments to unlock awesome prizes like unique stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. So download Monopoly Go now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. A lot to get to today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, from the Toronto Maple Leafs losing in the most heartbreaking fashion once again, just as we easily could have all predicted, from the Rochester Americans somehow keeping their season alive, to two mock off seasons in very different styles. I've got one in which I would qualify it as a realistic mock, what I would predict for the Sabres this offseason. And two, let's just get as wild as humanly possible. Let's get chaotic. Let's go nuts. As many big moves as we can get. That'll be our chaos mock coming up in the last segment of today's show. So a lot to get to today here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. If you would like to get in on the show, let your voice be heard, you can do that by hitting us up on our text line. If you're not already a texter and you'd like to sign up for that, you can do that by going to joinsubtext.com/lockedonsabres. The stat of the day that I had thrown around in our text line this morning, which I'll share now with our audience, was a amazing stat and NHL record that is held by Rick Bowness, who is retired. Today, Rick Bowness, head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, announced his retirement from the team and from the NHL. Rick Bowness, the Jets pointed out, between being an assistant and a head coach, has coached over 2,200 games in the National Hockey League. That is the most games coached in NHL history, at least by the Jets numbers. My stat is a little bit different than that. Bowness had this crazy career where he was the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets this season and in the past couple of seasons. He was also the coach of the Winnipeg Jets in the 1988-89 season. His first gig as an NHL head coach, his first stint with the original Winnipeg Jets. He actually, you could even go further back, was an assistant coach with the Jets in 1984. This guy was standing behind that Jets bench 40 years ago, and he was still doing it 1 week ago. So, sticking with the head coaching part, though, the record for Bowness, 12,864 days between his first game that he coached for the Jets in February of 1989 and the last game that he coached for the Jets in April of 2024. To break that record of 12,864 days between your first game coaching for a team and your last game coaching for a team, Lindy Ruff would have to coach the Sabres past December 20th of 2032. 8 more years, and that would take him into his 70s. So Lindy, who started with the Sabres as a coach in 1997, is still 8 years away from that record that Bowness holds, which is a very unique circumstance that a guy from the 80s would come back to coach a team. Lindy from the late 90s and the 2000s, we're already talking about the factors involved there. So that's something we were just throwing around our group chat today. We'll be talking a lot about my mock off seasons in the group chat as well. So again, you want to sign up, go joinsubtext.com/lockedonsabres. I had one texter ask, are we going to get an episode devoted to offer sheet candidates? There will be one episode devoted to all the off-season candidates, or offer sheet candidates. We'll go individual by individual once we get closer to free agency in a couple of months. But RFA status, all guys will be smashed into one show because we just don't have the high likelihood, of course, of that actually happening. Maybe this is the year, though. You never know. So a lot to get to on today's show, but before we get to my mock off seasons, let's start with the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs fall Game 7 overtime to Boston. No surprise whatsoever. I told you last week, even while they were coming back and Boston looked horrible in Game 5 and Game 6, just thought, this is what Toronto does. They're going to find a way to lose this series in the most heartbreaking fashion imaginable. And they invented a new way to do that, which is we're going to come back from 3-1 down to even the series. We're going to have the lead with 10 minutes to go in the third period, but we're going to blow it within a minute, and then we're going to lose in overtime to the same team in the same place that we always lose in Boston Game 7. You knew they weren't winning Game 7. And to be fair, the guy that's getting criticized the most right now, Mitch Marner, this time, I don't want to blame him too much for the Pastrnak goal, but he's got to pick up on Pastrnak. Pastrnak and Marner are standing at almost the same spot in the neutral zone. And Pastrnak shoots the open space like a bat out of hell. Marner doesn't even recognize Pastrnak has flown by him until Pastrnak is like 10, 20 feet past him. And at that point, it's like, well, it's not my man now, it's your man. And the defenseman's not in a position to get him, so the goal goes in the back of the net. If Marner had the recognition to see, oh, here he goes, he's shooting to that zone, then maybe he could have kept up with him. Whatever. There are other things you could criticize Marner for. That might be one of them. He's getting a lot of heat. He also had a weird comment this morning about Marner was what it means to be a Leaf, as he's in the final year of his contract now he's going into. He's from Toronto. He's from the Markham, Toronto area. Grew up a Leafs fan. Dream of his to be a Leaf. He said, quote, "It means the world to me. We're looked upon as kind of gods." Dude, that's not the tone I think you want to be setting. You just lost Game 7. You've lost your 8th playoff series in your career. You've only won one. You're known as the team that can't get it done. Fans are so mad at you, and you referred to yourself as we're kind of gods, even if there's more context required there. He still said it. That's not great. So we'll see. That's not what's going to get him shipped out of town on its own. We'll see what happens with Marner. Elliot Friedman had some very interesting thoughts on Marner. He said on 32 Thoughts today, I wonder if both sides would like to move on, the Leafs and Marner. That is my guess. If there's going to be one big move by the Leafs, it's going to be him. It's going to be the coach gets fired, and it might be Marner gets traded. We'll see. So the Leafs, John Tavares made a comment today about what gives you faith in this club. Like, well, we're right there. How many times can you say the same old thing? Tavares, by the way, that goes further back than the Leafs for him. That was the thing for him with the Islanders, where they would make the playoffs and not get past the first round. He has 2 playoff series wins since he entered the NHL in 2009. 15 years. He's been one of the best centers in hockey for 15 years, and he has 2 playoff series wins to show for that between Long Island and Toronto. So just him especially. We're right there, that close. Just, I guess, what's he supposed to say? He's supposed to say it's never going to happen. I get that, but just, man, Tavares, too, is rubbing me the wrong way a little bit. So that's what's going on in Toronto land. Rochester, meanwhile, we're getting a pivotal Game 5 winner-take-all on Friday at Blue Cross Arena. They're selling tickets. You do have 6 days between games, but the Amerks made this possible. It looked like their season was over. Totally over. They were down 3-0 about midway through the second period. 3-0, and it looked like it was going to be over. They didn't score in the second. They enter the third period down 3-0, and you thought, okay, this is probably going to be it. And there's Brandon Byro to open the scoring 20 seconds in to period number 3. And okay, just like that. I mean, that's what you need, right? If you've ever been on a hockey team, when you're down 3-0 like that, you might have no belief you're going to come back, but you get a goal right away at the start of the third. It's, ooh, okay. Now we got a full period to overtake a 2-goal deficit. That's doable. And what do? Midway through the third, they get goal number 2, Joseph Sassoni. And then Byro scores again and a little bit of a spinorama goal with 5 minutes to go to tie the hockey game at 3-3. Byro, by the way, 2 goals and an assist on the 3 goals in the third period. Lucas Rusek had an assist on all 3 goals in the third. It was the same line that produced all 3 of those goals for Rochester. It wasn't the kid line. It was that veteran line of stud AHL guys that, aren't quite prospects. But they got there. They got it to overtime. Brett Murray won it in OT with a nice little move in front of the net on a rebound. Actually, it was just a rebound. And the Amerks were able to win the game. Levi, another really strong performance, 36 saves on 39 shots. They left them out to dry a couple of times. Excuse me, those numbers were regulation only. For the game, 41 saves on 44 shots for Levi. So another very strong performance from him. You get 6 days off, but you get a Game 5, winner take all. Winner moves on to the next round on Friday night. It could be a great game to go to if you just want to take a quick drive down the 90, not too far away, get some playoff hockey in an elimination game. The best thing they say the best thing in sports is a Game 7. Well, in this case, the best thing is a Game 5 because it's basically a Game 7. When we come back, my predictive mock offseason for the Sabres coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. We are presented here on the show by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The winning formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive. ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. All right, my predictive mock, the most realistic mock for what I would predict the Sabres are going to do this offseason and see what Kevyn Adams has on hand this summer. Now, Adams is actually going to come on with me and Jeremy tomorrow on WGR. If you are interested in me asking him something, throw a question in on our text line, and I will scour them and see what we can get in with the GM tomorrow. So we're going to talk to Adams tomorrow, maybe get a little bit of a deeper sense of the offseason and them hiring Lindy Ruff. That's going to be tomorrow. So let's get right into it. I use Cap Friendly, their armchair GM tool, which is available on their site if you want to do it yourself as well. Let's look at it. My predictive mocks for the 2024 offseason. Get to my chaos mock coming up in a little bit. The thing that I think is the most, the craziest, the most wild that we could get. And I've got the trades here as well. And you can watch along on our YouTube page. I've got all those available to you as well. To me, though, the theme of my predictive mock offseason is not a lot of action, but you could argue some big action, right? Not on the level of a blockbuster, but good, solid name value, good players, veteran, established, even star players to some degree is the theme of this mock. I went through, looked at the RFAs, looked at the UFAs, starting with their own. At RFA status, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, I talked about Levi on Friday, and I explained, if you missed that, I went really deep on Levi's potential and what that could also mean for UPL's contract. So where I settled for UPL, 3 years, $4.5 million per year. I think that's a good value. It's a good money number for a goalie that's only had one really good year, and you're giving him a 3-year contract. And I do believe, actually, I was corrected on this. I think you'd be walking him to unrestricted free agency, but I would be okay with that. You got 3 years to figure out an extension if you want, or if Levi's developed or Luukkonen has regressed, then you can get out of it. So 3 years, $4.5 million for Luukkonen. Henri Jokiharju, also a RFA. I went $500,000 over his current salary, same time period as I went with Luukkonen. 3-year deal for $3 million for Jokiharju, who I've got playing on their third pair. And then Peyton Krebs. Peyton Krebs, 1-year deal, $1.5 million as an RFA. You get him back in RFA status next year. I just don't think he's earned anything more than that. You get him back at the cheapest money, maybe even signs his tender, which might be right around the same number. So that's what I got for Peyton Krebs. Now, what about free agency and what about the trade market? And then I'll get to how I built the lines. Starting with the trade market, I think third line center is going to be a real target for the Sabres this offseason. And as I look around at unrestricted free agency, what I think, and this might be normal, what's more available in unrestricted free agency is middle six wingers than third line center. What I wanted to do is try to guess at what Adams is going to try to do. And my guess for that would be he's going to try to get a veteran middle six winger. He's going to try to get a third line center. And then one spot for a kid. So let's start with the third line center. You look through free agency. Sean Monahan, Chandler Stevenson, Elias Lindholm. Like these, Monahan less so, but these other guys, Alex Wenberg maybe is an idea. But you're kind of out at that point. You've got like 4 options at most. And 2 of them are probably going to be really expensive, especially Elias Lindholm. So I wanted to go to the trade market. And I went to Vegas. Vegas has a cap problem. They are $7 million over their salary cap right now. But it's playoff time, so that doesn't matter. I think they are looking for a cap dump this summer. And William Karlsson, Wild Bill Karlsson, just had a big bounce back season. Now, William Karlsson, at his age, 31 years old, not going to be as expensive as other centers you could find that had the production he did last year. He had 30 goals, 32 assists, 62 points, 30 goal scorer, and I'm acquiring him to play on the Sabres' third line. That's what I'm looking for William Karlsson. What I trade away Isaac Rozan. Rozan is a first-round prospect who is ready to make the jump to the NHL. The Golden Knights are looking for cheap labor. Rozan can play in their bottom 6 and have some potential at the same time. And I've told you why I don't really think he makes a lot of sense, the most sense for the Sabres, if he's not going to play in the NHL, because they need to win right now. How much room is there for all these prospects? And for him, given that he's already had 2 full seasons in the AHL and a year of development in Sweden post-draft, it's time to do something. Either call him up or move him. So I packaged him with a second-round pick, and I get William Karlsson. Part of why I don't think he's going to be that much more expensive than that, $5.9 million for the next 3 years at 31 years old. It's not the best contract. He's also not been a 30-goal scorer before this past year. It had been a couple of years. The 4 years before last year with 30. 14 goals, 12 goals, 14 goals, 15 goals. So not giving you a whole lot, but I'm asking him to play on the Sabres' third line. And don't give me 20. I don't need the 30 goals he scored last year, but give me 20. But he will be an upgrade over Peyton Krebs, I think, no doubt, in their bottom 6. So William Karlsson is my first big move on my predictive model, or I shouldn't call it a model, my predictive mock for the Sabres summer. And one other thing that I do want to mention on Karlsson, I'm looking for the two-way centerman, right? And if you go to Evolving Hockey and you look at his player card and you look at his goals above replacement, he is a very good offensive player still. Like advanced numbers this past year, he was terrific. Defensively, though, also a stalwart. 80 out of 100 in percentile for his defensive game. So I think you're getting the two-way center you need in Karlsson. Then, the one other signing that I'm making, I'm circling back around, and I think the Sabres are going to make a push for Patrick Kane. I think they're going to do it this summer. I think there's no reason for me to think they're not going to want to revisit that. Adams wanted him in November and October, and they didn't get him. He's going to be available again. He kind of said goodbye to Detroit already, but if they wanted him then, with all the risk baked in of the hip surgery that he had that almost nobody has ever come back from, well, now he has. Add him to that very short list of guys that have done it. There he is. Patrick Kane was a point-a-game player, 47 points in 50 games played, helps your power play, helps your scoring depth, helps with the veteran presence and, that the level, how to deal with expectations, the pressure that Granato talked about last year, whatever. You get Kane on all fronts there, and I'm going 3-year deal at $4 million per year. I think this is outbidding everybody else in terms of the term, which I think could be important to Kane. At 35 years old, you get him for age 35, 36, and 37. You don't love that, but $4 million, you give him the term, you get a little bit of a lower number than some other point-of-game players that you would be getting. So I really think they're going to try to sign Kane again. So I'm putting Kane in, and just for a upfront, what do the lines look like if I make these moves? That's pretty much it, by the way, for me on this mock offseason for 1.0. Thompson, Tuck, and Skinner. I don't see anywhere else you could play Skinner and expect to get reasonable results. So I put him up there. I put Cousins with Peterka and Kane kind of as like a 2B line that's a little bit more geared for offense with Peterka on one side and Kane on the other. And then I really like the idea of a shutdown third line that also can score. So I'm putting Jack Quinn on what you would look at on paper as the third line, but for me, it's more of like the 2B line. Like there would be a lot of nights where I'd expect this third line of William Karlsson, Zach Benson, and Jack Quinn to get more minutes than the Cousins line. Depends on how the game is going. But that Karlsson, Benson, Quinn line, Karlsson is a very good defensive forward. Benson is a very good defensive forward already at this age. And Quinn, I think, is an underrated defensive forward as well. So that, to me, is a shutdown line with all three that can produce offense. It also, you give Benson, Karlsson, and Quinn, allows him the teammates that can have him grow offensively. And then line 4, Peyton Krebs with Jordan Greenway. And I'm going to put Yuri Kulik on there. I don't love him on the fourth line, but again, I think it's time. Like, eventually these guys got to play, and if that's the only spot, then that's the only spot. I would get him in on the power play, get him some minutes on power play unit number 2, get him, somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes a night of even strength ice time, and you give him just enough to get his feet wet and be a secondary goal scorer in the NHL at the start of his career. So that's what I'm looking at there. No changes in net, except for that Luukkonen contract. No changes on the blue line other than that Yoki Haru contract. That's what I'm looking at for my predictive mock. This is my best guess at what the Sabres will look like come the opening night in October. What about something that's completely crazy, that is almost definitely not going to happen, but is a lot of fun to look at? I've got a really interesting mock for you when we come back. My chaos mock. When we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, we are presented by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. We got to pause here, talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. We've already been talking about this, but there is so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers, you can trade with friends, complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. I mean, they've really got everything. And there's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies as well. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. Go get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on with Monopoly Go. Final segment here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, 24/7 streaming channel as well on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV channels app. All right, my wild mock This is as crazy as it gets. I don't doubt it for a second. If you want, pick 2 of these moves. Pick 1 of these moves and see what you like, see what you get. I know. But I went to the max. How good could they get right away? You want to win the cup this year, and there's no other option. Asteroids coming a year from now, and this is the last year of sports. What do you do? All right. Well, I guess that actually would make a lot of my trades impossible, not going to lie. But this is my super duper chaos mock. And I'm going to give you the trades first, and then we could build up the lineup from there. So, what we're looking at to start is a trade with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I talked about on our show last week the idea that the Leafs could trade guys and who that could be. And Marner is the name that comes up time in and time out. So, what do you got to give up for Mitch Marner? Well, the Maple Leafs don't want picks and prospects, I don't think. They want to win. They want to win right now. It's not like when the Sabres traded Eichel. You're not getting Marner for the Eichel package, I don't think. When the Sabres traded Eichel, they were entering a rebuild. They were okay with Krebs as a number 1 prospect. They were okay with a first-round pick. They were okay with a second-round pick. So I don't think that could be the base of your deal with Toronto. You got to give them something that will help them right away. So, what I am giving the Leafs for Mitch Marner is Owen Power and Isaac Rozan. I've talked about Rozan already and why I think you should trade him. That's kind of a sweetener. And I'm giving them Owen Power. Power is a good player already. No, he is not the number 1 overall pick, franchise-defining defenseman that we thought he was going to be yet. But he's 20 years old. There is a lot of room for growth. Defensemen generally take a couple of years. He's probably going to hit his, by the way, 21 years old for Power. He's probably going to hit his ceiling soon. If not this year, maybe 1 more year. And then that's when it happens for these guys typically. So Toronto is getting in on the ground floor. They're getting him at $2.5 million cheaper than Marner costs. And that's right now. Marner's next contract could be more expensive than that, so they save some money. They've always been searching for the blue line, right? They've never had great defensemen other than Morgan Rielly. Power would allow them to do that. It's the most, I think you could outbid almost anybody with this package of a franchise-level defenseman with really good upside that was picked number 1 overall and a first-round prospect that's ready for the jump to the NHL. That's what I'm giving Toronto for Mitch Marner. It gets crazier. I've talked a lot on this show about Kirill Kaprizov. I think Kaprizov, I do it every time, but he is going to be a name to watch in the trade market until he signs an extension with one of the older teams in the league. I want to believe that he is going to be someone that could be made available. 96 points this past year in 75 games, 46 goals. He's got 330 points in 278 career games in Minnesota. He's an elite offensive player. So, I got a lot of prospects and picks. I can get multiple of these guys, right? I already gave up Power and Rozan. Well, I got guys left over. Minnesota, you're going to trade me your best player at 27 years old, one of the best wingers in the NHL. I'll give you Zach Benson. I'll give you my first-round pick. I'll give you my second-round pick, and you want a little bit of a sweetener on top, a young player that's cheap and might be able to develop into something more on your team, take Peyton Krebs too. So I'm going Benson, Krebs, a first, and a second. This is more along the lines of the Eichel package. I'm giving you 4 pieces. I'm giving you my top prospect. I'm giving you another guy that plays in the NHL, and I'm giving you, better than Vegas's 16th overall pick. Sabres are probably going to be picking 10th, 11th, or 12th. So a little bit of a better draft pick than the Eichel package. And Benson's a little bit of a better prospect than Krebs was, which kind of makes up for the difference between Tuck and Krebs. So that's the offer I'm making to Minnesota. That would have to come before July 1st because Kaprizov has trade protection that kicks in on July 1st. So that's trade number 2. And I got Marner and I've got Kirill in Minnesota. And I'm not done there. I still got prospects left, right? I still got young players. Why not? Let's go all in. Let's win the Stanley Cup right away. Let's just go get Brady Tkachuk too. while we're at it. Let's go get the 3 best wingers that you could possibly imagine and build around Tage Thompson and Dylan Cousins. I'm going to do it. Let's give it up. Let's give up for Brady Tkachuk. Why not? Let's go get Brady Tkachuk, and let's trade Jack Quinn. Yep, I know, right? But Jack Quinn, who played junior hockey in Ottawa, so you get a little bit of a hometown, go back there type of thing. How about Noah Ostlund? You get my best prospect that's left over. Actually, that wouldn't be true because you still have Kulik and Savoy. See how many prospects they got. Ostlund, Quinn, and my 2025 first. So I've traded my 2 first-round picks in the next 2 years, yes. But I've given up 3 pieces, Jack Quinn included, and I'm getting Brady Tkachuk from the Ottawa Senators. And then, because I'm going to be over the cap, Henry Jokiharju, I'll have to send him away for like a second-round pick, get some picks back. Connor Clifton, I got to get him off the team too for like a 3rd or a 4th, so I'll do that as well. So clear that much cap space. Now I'm under the cap. And now I've got my wild, not going to happen team that, let's be real, I know it's not going to happen. This team would win the Stanley Cup. Is that too far? This team would win the Stanley Cup. This would be the most talented team in hockey. Right? Am I lying? That top line, Tage Thompson centering Mitch Marner on the right and Kaprizov on the left. That's one of the best lines in hockey. Line 2, Dylan Cousins down the middle with Alex Tuch and Brady Tkachuk. That is a tough line. That is a defensive line. That is a skilled line. That is a culture line, right? Cousins, Tuch, and Tkachuk. How about, see, now I got to get cheap, though, because I'm so top-heavy. But I could be cheap still. I still got young players left over. How about a line 3 of Matt Savoy centering Yuri Kulik and JJ Peterka? I still got Peterka on this team, by the way. He's in my 3rd line, and he's going to have to really help the kids out with Savoy and Kulik. But we know those guys are talented. Maybe they could be like the Roy Vanek-Afinogenov to my top 2 super lines. And then line 4, I had to get as cheap as possible. So I just threw Lucas Rusek on there for $775,000. I signed Teddy Bluger out of free agency for $1 million. Currently Vancouver's 4th line center, cheapest guy you could get. And then I still got Jordan Greenway on line 4. I'll let him play out that final year and then walk away from $3 million. Then the blue line, got to be cheap because I built a superstar roster. It's got a lot of big numbers on it. Dahlin, Byram. I'm going to be a little thinner on the blue line, right? Dahlin and Byram. I'm going to really need Byram to turn into a great player. Ryan Johnson's going to have to turn into a second pair defenseman. I got him with Samuelson. Okay. I can manage that, right? And then line 3, I have to get the cheapest guys possible. So I just brought in 2 former Sabres because what the hell? Chad Ruedel, $800,000. Why not? Still playing in the league. And then Dmitry Kulikov at $1 million. And I still got Luukkonen. I still got Levi. I've got Marner. I got the best players you could possibly imagine. That team wins the Stanley Cup. Okay, I know. I have to keep mentioning it. I know that's not going to happen. You pick one of those 3 moves, though. Go ahead. Pick one of the 3. And let's see if they can pull it off. But that lineup wins the Stanley Cup. All right, you got a crazy lineup you want to throw my way? Feel free to do it. If you want a predictive mock you want to throw my way as well for what you think the Sabres will happen, reminder from our second segment, I think what's much more likely, obviously, is like a William Karlsson trade this summer and then bringing Patrick Kane in. I really think they're going to try to bring Patrick Kane in again. That's it for us today here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Maybe we'll throw a few more of these around. We'll talk about Dylan Cousins. I've been putting that off. We're going to do that this week. The Amerks play on Friday, so we'll get some more Rochester content your way, and the playoffs continue as well. So a lot of good stuff still coming your way here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. If you got a thought on our mocks or on the Amerks, anything like that, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres to sign up for our text line. We'll talk to you next time here in the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.